Hi, beautiful souls. This is your host, Joycelyn again. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Spark a Soul podcast. I'm so excited to bring in another guest today who has an exciting topic to talk about. Let's give a round of applause to our guest, Deborah Chalk. She's from the UK and she's actually a mind body magic and manifestation coach. And she's here to talk with us about mind body connection and how to overcome perfectionism with that. So let's turn the floor over to Deborah and say welcome and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for the welcome today, Joycelyn. And I'm really glad to be with you and your audience today.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sure everyone is excited about this topic and to hear more about it. So let's start off with knowing a little bit about you, Deborah. Who's Deborah?
Thank you. Well, I was originally born in Scotland and I've managed to hang on to my accent for quite a few years now because I've been living in England for over 20 years now. And I grew up in Scotland and I was a very shy child, found it difficult to cope with new situations, and so I would sometimes start things and then get a bit scared and then stop doing them. So I've had to kind of learn more courage as I've gone on in life, because that's how you can bring things to you and work towards things that you really want. So I studied at Glasgow University and studied English and philosophy, and the philosophy was a lot about moral philosophy, so it was good and bad and right and wrong and kind of very early life coaching. This is sort of Aristotle doing life coaching, if you like, and I didn't realize that it would eventually lead to this in the long run, but I just loved books. I was a really bookish child, and so that was what led to studying English. And then I worked in a merchant bank in London. So a very traditional career in corporate banking, loans to companies, and thought I really cannot see myself doing this for my career. And that was still at the time where people in general had a career and stuck to it throughout their life. People were still doing that then. And it was hard to make a new path, but I did. I made some false starts. So I went into the Navy and found that wasn't for me either. And then eventually became a teacher, and I taught in primary schools and in state schools and private schools, and loved teaching, but we were moving a lot. And I found it very difficult going back to that new situation thing of landing somewhere new, getting to know how things were done, gaining respect and understanding, and basically starting from square one every time we moved. And I decided I needed to find something that wherever we went, I would be able to do that thing. So I worked with a coach at that time. And she was really helpful. I did a lot of creative adventures, very many things, trying to figure out what to do, and very varied. And I had this idea, with the perfectionism came in, that there would be this one thing that I would do, that I would find, and it would be the answer, and then the heavens would open and the light would come through, and it would be like that movie moment where everything just fell into place. And it turns out it's a lot messier than that on the way to what you should be doing. So I had to get comfy with the messiness and the trying things and the not working out and trying something different. And the coach I was working with kind of said, "You're reading an awful lot of these self-help books and you're really into this stuff. Why are you not being a coach?" And I'd been reading self-help books pretty much since I was 13, around that age, because of the shyness and the needing to cope stuff. And I loved all the self-development stuff. And it was just like, when they say that something's just right in front of your nose and you can't notice it because it's so close to you, it's just part of who you are. And it was like, wait a minute, she's right. I mean, you can see I love all the learning, all of that. And I gave myself permission to follow my heart and to become a coach. and I trained with Dr. Martha Beck, who is known as Oprah's go-to life coach. I trained with her in 2013. And then last year I took my mind body coach training with Abigail Morgan. And that for me took things to a whole different level. The coaching I'd been doing based on Martha's work was amazing, and I loved it, and I loved the people that I worked with. But then to be able to bring in the mind body connection tools and be able to trust my inner wisdom more, to learn how to cope with when the perfectionism comes up more, it's just been an amazing journey.
Wow, that sounds like an exciting journey. A lot of different changes all at once. And you started off saying that you were a shy person. This makes me curious to understand, how did you cope with different environments and constant changes in your life when you were this shy person, trying to be a bit more courageous to adapt to changes? How did that all fit in?
Okay, so the thing is that a lot of people that maybe know me would maybe not think I was that shy, and I am. I am an introvert, and I think that part of it is realizing that being an introvert doesn't mean that you don't like being with other people. It really doesn't mean that. The way I see being an introvert is that that's how you get your energy. You get your energy from spending time on your own. That's how you replenish. It's how you juice up, if you like. And so realizing that my way of resting or playing was spending that time on my own, on the sofa, reading a book, learning something new. And that was as fun to me as to the person that, being, what do they call it, crowd surfing at the concert, that would be their thing that they would really juice up on. I'm not going to get juiced up by crowd surfing at a concert. I really can't think of anything. I just don't fancy it, to be honest. So it's realizing what your thing is. And so you're realizing, I get energy from spending time just doing my own thing, from being creative, from allowing myself to do these mind-body practices, from journaling, from listening to intuition. All of these things are giving me energy. And if I do these things so that I have that energy and I'm looking after my energetic resources, and there are certain energy practices that I do with clients to help them to do that, it means then that I can cope with these situations, and I can cope with these, just with it being different. Another really thing that links with the perfectionism, Joycelyn, is we were talking about, when you have ideas of what things should be like. So when I had the idea of what I thought my career should look like, that it should be this straight path, I am a merchant banker and I'm going to carry on in that, and then I'll retire from that and all of that. So you have this idea that you go to a networking event and you have to be in the center of the room and you have to be talking to everybody and, all of that. Lower the bar. And lower the bar as far as you need to lower it. So that could be really, I am going to go to the event. That's it. Whether I light up the room or not is not the point of this. I'm just going to turn up and see what happens and do as much as is comfortable for me. I'm going to look around the room. I'm going to see who looks friendly and looks like they might be a nice person to talk to, and I'm going to go and talk to them first. Just be really gentle with yourself, because I think we can sometimes, especially with social media, we can think we all have to be the person who's at the front, leading the way, in the center of things. And you really don't. You just really have to show up with an honest and open heart, and just be yourself. And whether being yourself, and part of being yourself is being that quieter, shyer person, that's cool.
I love it. First of all, I love how you define introvert, because a lot of people think the introvert is just being shy and not being able to converse with other people, but there's a balanced way of being an introvert. And I love how you said, be gentle with yourself, because a lot of people, even myself, tend to forget that. So another question that comes up to mind is, we spoke about perfectionism slightly a bit here. Why did you choose perfectionism as a important part of your coaching pathway, or why is that close to you?
I think it's something I've struggled with myself in my life. your idea of how things should be, and then comparing how things actually are and feeling that you fall short in some way. I also see it coming up very regularly with clients, and even clients who are massively accomplished. You know, they're doing wonderful things in the world, and a lot of it, a lot of people feel not good enough. At the heart of things, when you drill right down, there's a feeling of I'm not good enough. And so I think that if people can start to gently lean in to being more able and allowed and encouraged to believe in themselves, then they are getting to shine, and then that's when things start to get really exciting. So this also linked on to when I was training with Abigail, that I did my mind body coach training with, and in that we learned about a thing called mind whispering. And in mind whispering, you're noticing your mind stories, and one of the mind stories is I'm not good enough. But one way you can notice mind stories coming up is looking out for the 3 Ps. And the 3 Ps are self-pressure, pushing, and perfectionism. So self-pressure, I need to have it done by yesterday. It all needs to be done perfectly. You know, there's the perfectionism coming in there as well. I need to be as good as them. Their Instagram is so much glitzier than my, all of that self-pressure. The pushing, I need to work harder, I need to work longer, I need to prioritize everybody else's needs over my own. I need to get even as a manifesting coach, I don't really like saying these things out loud because I realize, you know, your words really matter, but I do want to be able to express it so that people can understand the kind of things that come up with that pushing. So pushing is basically when your inner self trusts that you don't need to push. Your inner self, your true wise self knows that you will be guided to do things with right timing. And the frantic pushing self says, no, I don't want to listen to that. And just pushes on regardless. And that usually doesn't work out too well in the end. I don't know if you've noticed, but I sometimes get really grumpy if I do that. And then the last one is the perfectionism. We live in a world where we see all the ideals around us, and it's even more so than I think of Mad Men, when in the Mad Men series where they were coming up with the images of perfectionism in at that time in the 60s America. We've got it on a whole different level. We're just not just seeing it on the billboards. We're carrying it around in our mobile phones, little devices, for inner billboards to feed on and suck on. Sounds like a monster, a kind of science fiction monster, doesn't it? So yeah, perfectionism, and noticing when it's coming up. And then so what do you do when the 3 Ps come up? The first thing is, if you notice them, brilliant. If you notice, that's my perfectionism coming up, that's a really good first step. So just first of all, the noticing, that's one of the 3 Ps. Then tune back in with your body. And the simplest way to do that is to feel your feet, notice your feet. Oh look, I've got feet. I've been carrying them around all day. They've been carrying me around all day and I haven't noticed them. So tune in with your feet. I do lots of other practices to help clients tune into their bodies, but really if you start off just tuning into your feet, it's amazingly helpful. And then just ask your inner wisdom for its take on what's going on. That still small voice that's inside of you, that isn't getting frantic, that isn't pushing, that believes in you. And just ask it what it thinks about what you're doing. And you'll start to be able to get a whole new picture on things.
Wow. Okay, so you started off with mind whispering, which blew my mind off. That is amazing. That's a really great concept with the 3 Ps. I don't think I've come across that before, so thank you for sharing that with our viewers. So you did answer a question I had in mind, as of as in people really struggle with perfectionism at one point in their life, and they just don't know where to start. So from what I take from your reflections is that first keep yourself grounded by noticing that you're trying to be perfectionist, like I guess perfect in a way. What about those people that just don't know that they're perfectionists and they just keep going and going and going? What do you think is a great way to, stop and realize or figure out that something in your life is trying to drive you rather than take things slow and you're just being too perfect all the time? How do you think those set of people will realize what's going on?
How will they realize that the perfectionism is what's making them unhappy? Right. I think so. If you were just somebody like you don't know it's perfectionism that's what's making you unhappy, you just know that you're unhappy and you're not getting where you want to be going. I think this is about tuning in with yourself, and this is something that again I do with mind body coaching, and it's called the KIND process. And I learned this from Abigail Morgan, and you're tuning in with your body first of all. So what am I feeling in my body? So know your body is the first step. Second step is inhabit your emotions. So what am I feeling? So you might be able to name that. You might know it's anger or sadness, but you might just feel, oh, it feels fuzzy around my chest, or there's tension in my throat, or you might just notice it as a bodily sensation. And then the N is noticing your thoughts. And we've talked a bit about that with the mind whispering. And then the D is discovering your inner wisdom. So you would tune in with your inner wisdom and you would ask your inner wisdom, what do I need to know? You can actually help yourself tune into those energy centers. You can just gently rub your third eye there, and then rub the top of your head, and then say, what do I need to know? And then you can journal. And you might not get any answers. At first you might get nothing. At first you might get, I want to go and eat some chocolate. I often get, I want to go and eat some chocolate, but you just write down what comes to you. If nothing comes to you, no problem. Because you're opening up that doorway. You're saying, inner wisdom, I'm here for you. I'm going to start listening. Even if somebody didn't want to do the KIND process, if they thought, oh, that's too much palaver, I just want it to be easier, just start journaling. Just start writing down what's going on for you, and patterns will start to come up, and then you'll start to notice what's going on for you. And then another way, you'd maybe say, oh, she would say that, but working with a coach or some kind of wise guide, or talking with a friend can help you to figure out what's going on for you.
Love the tuning in part. Sorry, just losing my voice there. Love the tuning in part. I think with the chattery, noisy stuff that's going on in the world, sometimes we forget to tune in inwards of what's going on in our heads, our body, just our soul overall. So I love how you pointed that out. Quickly tracing back to your initial story of how you've been through a lot of changes in your life, what was the biggest challenge you'd say you faced in your life at that point?
Which point do you mean?
In your journey to become this mind-body coach, at the end, you said now you're really happy with what you're doing. What was kind of the challenge there before you got to that beautiful step?
Okay, so I think that we still continue to have challenges, and everybody has challenges. So I wouldn't say that you get to this shiny point where as a human being you never have any more challenges, because I think that we always do, but that part of it is knowing how to navigate them better and knowing how to help yourself when you have those really down days where you lose hope, where you're not sure things are working. And I think that we all have days like that. And so I just encourage people also to know that there's, it doesn't sound like encouragement because I'm saying that it's never perfect, but it isn't. That part of the reason why I think that we're here as spiritual beings is to have that path and have that challenge so that we can grow as individuals. For me personally, I've found the moves, the regular moves, we've lived in 10 houses in 21 years of marriage, was difficult. And I found that motherhood brought its own challenges. We had, my daughter was in hospital quite a bit when she was very small, and I found that a really big worry about how she was and whether she was going to be all right. And then even as far as feeling that I'm fulfilling my own purpose in life, it's been a huge journey of trying to trust the way and trust that I'm heading in the right direction, and keeping on exploring and learning more and more. And I certainly wouldn't say to anybody that I'm the finished article, or that I've, part of the thing is that I'm realizing that it's okay not to be perfect. And I'm not this hugely enlightened being. Like I say, I get grumpy. I say the wrong things sometimes. I mess up sometimes. I'm fully aware of all of that. But I'm able to help people with what I do, and I'm continuing to learn and grow and change. And I think that another thing that I need to always keep remembering, like we were saying, the mind whispering, the 3 Ps, because as human beings, our safety parts of our brain that are, those old parts that are trying to keep us safe, are always going to be telling us that we need to be working harder or faster or longer. It's always going to keep coming up, and it's just being able to navigate that so that you can come to more of a place of having peace within yourself.
With all my heart, thank you, Deborah, for being reflective of your own challenges and sharing that, challenges just doesn't stop in the past. It still goes on, and you can't really put a stop to that. So really appreciate that. And I think a lot of us, including myself, we think that once the challenges are over, it's like we need to be a little bit more perfect so those challenges don't come back into our life again. But there's going to be new variations that come up. So I think the last question that really comes to my mind here is, for someone that's out there right now that's listening, who feels like their life has to be perfect so that they can avoid any challenges or future challenges that comes in their life, what would be one tip or one advice that you would share with them through your own experiences and your professional background? What's that one thing that you'd like to share with them?
Yeah. So I am, for myself, finding the mind-body connection through the kind process that we talked about, and the energy work that I'm learning more about, for me, has really, really helped. I lived so much up in my head, particularly as somebody who loves to learn and loves to read and is introverted. I was very caught up in the mind stuff. So being able to learn how to have connection with my body and actually be within all of my body has been just transformational for me personally. And I would say, if you can start playing with that, I'd love it for you. If you could experience some, if it's helpful for you, that would be amazing.
That's wonderful. I love how you just added in playing with that rather than perfecting what you just shared, because that's another form of perfectionism. So yeah, being playful with these kind of stuff, experimenting and really trying out bits and bobs of different things might just work for people who feel like they're stuck in perfectionism. So beautiful. And thank you so much, Deborah, for bringing up this topic of perfectionism, as it's well needed in this world. Really, really, really appreciate that. So yeah, that wraps up our episode for today. And I did want to say thank you again for joining us today and sharing a wealth of information that is super valuable to myself and our viewers. I hope you had a great time being a part of the podcast.
It's been so lovely. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Thank you.